Welcome to the Angry Nerd Podcast. My name is Arshawn Wade, a.k.a. the Angry Nerd. The Angry Nerd Podcast is taped in front of a live Facebook audience from my mom's basement. The Angry Nerd Podcast is brought to you by a few bad life choices and a couple of shattered dreams. The Angry Nerd Podcast is made possible by money that my wife gives me from my SSI check, a chick named Joni, and proceeds from listeners like you. If you want to be one of the listeners that helps contribute to this show getting better and better, go to Cash App. My Cash App is $The Angry Nerd. And buy one of the Angry Nerd Podcast t-shirts. Get it in black or white. Size is small through extra large. Inbox me your size, your address, $20 plus shipping will get yours out. Or you can visit Custom Tees by Arshawn. Maybe you have a small business. You want to take advantage of our small business bundle. And we have 12 t-shirts for $90, I think. I don't know how to check the price. I have to check the price list again. But I think that's the deal for the small business bundle. Anyways, now we gotten through the guilty plugs. Real quick, before we get into tonight's topic, has anybody seen the movie? What's the name of the movie? It just came out recently on Hulu. Nomadland. It's apparently it's like so revolutionary and eye-opening. It's won like 144 awards. It's been nominated for another 120 or so. And so I said, well, I definitely can't ignore something like that. Something that's been so critically acclaimed. I have to check it out. And so I watched it. And I will say, at the very least, I left disturbed. Yep, it was that bad. It was hard to suffer through. There were more than one defecation outside scenes. And I just thought that I don't understand why they couldn't complete the movie without us watching her take a deuce one time in the bushes and another time in a bucket. I don't know. And apparently these people live in RVs and vans and things like that. And apparently a Prius. They're people who are living this nomadic lifestyle, and they just ride around living off the land, apparently. And they don't refer to themselves as homeless. They are houseless. And they actually have houses. They're just vans or Priuses or RVs. And it was a very disturbing film for me. It was hard to get through. It was hard to watch. I couldn't understand why it was so critically acclaimed. I guess I get it. It did have a very artsy feel to it. It was abstract. I did really love the cinematography. I love whatever that formula that they shot it in. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that first person view. Almost made it seem like it was home footage at some points. So I enjoyed that part of it. And I guess I get it a little, but I don't. Anyways, it was lost on me. But check it out, Nomadland. It's worth it. Just so you can be as thoroughly disturbed as I am. So check it out. And I'd appreciate it. Inbox me or email me at theangrynerdpodcast@gmail.com. Let me know what you guys think about it. So one of the things that I like to do is cruise the internet. I like to cruise the internet for topics, issues, joke ideas. I cruise the internet all the time. I mean, just to spur fresh thoughts. And I came across some information on selfishness that I thought was very eye-opening, because I don't think that most people are aware of what a truly selfish person looks like. And I don't think that they understand the psychology behind that person. And I think that's what I want to understand is the root cause of selfishness, because I recognize that selfishness can be detrimental to a lot of relationships, not only romantic relationships, but also business relationships, friendships. How many of us know that person who everybody's like, oh no, don't call him. Oh no, don't call her. You know, those exceptionally selfish people. Selfishness is a part of the human psychology. Self-preservation, wanting to eat, wanting to live, wanting to procreate. These are all selfish acts because it deals with the self. These are things that I want to do to push me forward, to propel me through life, to make me happy, to make sure that I live, to make sure that I have all my needs met. So we're going to jump into it. This information comes from misspsychobabble.blogspot.com. And I know that there's a handful of you who are wondering, what was this dude doing on misspsychobabble.blogspot.com? Mind your business. That's what. Anyways, but you guys know that I'm always in the sphere of, self-help and mental health and everything like that. And I've recognized that in the pursuit of being a better you, you can become inadvertently a worse you by becoming self-absorbed and selfish of the toxic variety. There's a certain selfishness that is healthy. But because that's another topic, that's not what we're talking about tonight, let's stick with the root cause of selfishness. So let's check this out. It says, most of us are characterized by tiny hints of selfishness. However, some people are more consumed by this trait. Let's define what selfish is. There are two main points according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary. A selfish person is concerned with his or her own advantage, pleasure, or well-being, period. Furthermore, he or she does not have any regard for others. And I think, and that's the distinction. Do you see that? The first part of that definition, everybody can kind of get behind. Let's check out the first part of that definition. You're concerned with your own advantage. Who's playing a game and doesn't want an advantage? Who's doing something at work and doesn't want an advantage? Who is not looking for their own pleasure or well-being? These are things that we can all get behind. It's after the period. Furthermore, he or she does not have any regard for others. That's where we have a problem. That's where things get dicey. Because in the mental health sphere, there's a saying that says, do no harm. And if you don't have regard for others, most likely you're going to do harm. Because other people have thoughts, beliefs, and feelings and convictions. And to tread on those and to take them lightly is setting the stage to have a negative interaction with a person. But because most of us are not toxically selfish, most of us consider other people. That's why we allow people to drive out in front of us, because we know you're never going to get out of Walmart's parking lot. I'm going to stop and let you go ahead and go. And then you see those people who will do 90 miles an hour and get to the red light and have to stop anyway. Total disregard for everyone on the road and their safety. And then you get to the red light and you have to stop anyway. That's a total bummer. But how many of us have seen these types of people? And oftentimes we'll look at them and we'll go, some people. Because some people are so selfish, exceptionally selfish. Come on, let's get back into the information here. Let me find my cursor. For anybody out there who's on Spotify or YouTube is wondering who I'm talking to, like there's someone else in the studio, I'm talking to my brothers and sisters in Facebook Live, because while I record this for Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube, I also broadcast live from Facebook, mostly because that's all we can afford right now. But I want to take a special moment out before we jump back into the information to say thank you to everybody who has purchased shirts. Thank you for everybody who has bought signs. That was really a personal shout out. There's only one, I have one signed customer, Larry Parrish. Thank you. You are a godsend. You're the greatest. No one can beat you. But I want to say thank you to everybody who frequents Custom Tees by Arshawn. And I wanted to say thank you to everybody who supports the Angry Nerd podcast, because I got to get a drum roll drop. I should have a drum roll drop. But because I don't, I was able to purchase another mic. So we will be able to have guests in studio. So I'm super excited. I'm super excited about that. Most of the guests that I have, we do it via telephone. And we plug the telephone into the mixer, and they just tap right into the show, which it's effective, and it works well, and it does good. And we've worked out the bugs. We found out you can't be on speakerphone. You can't have cheap earbuds. So so we figured that out, and it works well. But it's a real blessing to have another microphone and be able to set up another mic and have guests in studio. So we're looking forward to that. But anyways, excuse me. The latter part of the definition ignites the issue. Like I said, according to Miss Psychobabble, achieving success at the expense of other people is the kind of selfishness that you must avoid. The extreme sense psychologists refer to this personality trait as Machiavellianism. Anybody know anything about Machiavelli? That was the cat that Niccolo Machiavelli. I'm sorry, I grew up in the era where Tupac, so it was Machiavelli all through your body, blows like a 12. I'm sorry, so I say Machiavelli. I know it's Machiavelli. I know some of my white friends are going to say, shame on you, Arshawn. We thought you were one of the good ones. Where's my badapat? Anyways, so Niccolo Machiavelli was an infamous philosopher and diplomat. Now, he was famous for writing The Prince, in which he exposes his strong and unscrupulous political views. And when you get into Machiavellianism, I think there is a parallel between Machiavellianism and Darwinism. Or maybe one is derivative of the other. I'm not entirely sure because I don't know the dates, who was where and who did what, who influenced who. I'm not going to pretend that I do. I've never been good at that. I know the information, but I'm like, who, 18, whoever, 16, wherever. Okay, whatever. But anyways, but there's a parallel between Darwin's, what's it called? Theory of natural selection. His theory of natural selection, there's a direct correlation between that and Machiavellianism, which highlights that common species are after the same thing, but only the best adapted varieties survive. Similar ideals can be applied to man. See, I've read information that suggests that corporations psychologically are psychopaths. Corporations. Arshawn, you're talking about a company. How can a company be a psychopath? Well, if you know anything about businesses and forming businesses, LLCs, and things of that matter, let me not act like I'm an expert, but I do know a little bit of information. Shout out to the Craig Facts podcast. Got a lot of information from those guys. Shout out Charlie Newhart. Once you form a corporation, it becomes a person legally. It becomes a legal entity. So which means if I sold you a shirt that had bed bugs, you can't sue Arshawn. You can sue Custom Tees by Arshawn, the business. That's how that works. It's exactly how that works. So it creates an identity. It creates a persona. So this business, if we're looking at it as an entity, which it is, it has to have a psychology. And I have seen information that suggests that companies are psychopathic. And you think about psychopathy, you think about it. They have no emotions. They have no feelings. They'll fire people. They'll be like, hey, man, the bottom line is this. We got to fire 32 people. Go out there and do it. I've been in the situation. I've had to go tell a dozen guys, hey, there's no more work. I've had to do that before, and it's not a very good thing. Actually, that was when I realized I wouldn't go any higher at the company that I was employed with because that kind of stuff doesn't sit well with me. But companies are psychopaths. Psychopaths are the definition of selfishness. So here's the thing. Knowing all these nuggets made me curious and want to learn what lies beneath a selfish person. I shall dissect this matter using the biopsychosocial model. Biological, psychological, and societal. We'll apply these three modalities to the psychology of a selfish person. The biological switch. Did you know that researchers have found out that they can turn off the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain that is said to trigger self-control? And when they dampen this part of your mind, you become more selfish. They can make you selfish. Now, I know there are people who listen to me out there and who talk trash about me being a conspiracy theorist, but I'm not the person who gets paid millions of dollars to research this stuff. And this is just the information that they put out there for us to know. They can create selfish people. They just told you the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex can be manipulated to the point that it can control a person's selfishness. I just think that's scary, because you think if they can manipulate that part of the brain, what other parts of the brain can they manipulate? And then when you see these people who are middle America, middle-aged men who go into motel rooms and shoot 300 people just on a Tuesday, on a random damn Tuesday. Okay, y'all about to get me on some conspiracy stuff. Back to selfishness. Let me reel it in. You guys know how I do. I will get on my soapbox about the powers that shouldn't be. But anyways, getting right back to it, the way that they manipulate the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex is by repetitive transcranial magnetic stimulation. Doesn't that sound like mind control? Cranial means brain. That's like the head. Transcranial magnetic stimulation of the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, and they can create selfish people. Have we not seen an influx of exceptionally selfish people in the world today? Self-absorbed people? Is this not intentional? Transcranial magnetic stimulation. Could that be a cell phone? Could that be a tablet? Could that be a laptop? Hell, for all intents and purposes, could that be a fluorescent light? Let's break down that word again. Transcranial magnetic stimulation. A magnet emits waves. So they're letting you know that they can use magnetic waves to manipulate your thought process, to make you a more selfish person. Do you know what happens when you're a dad and you're leading a family and you're an exceptionally selfish person? There are some emotional needs that your children are going to miss. There are some emotional needs that your wife is going to miss. I have said for the past, I don't know, at least 15 or 20 years, there is an assault on the institution of family. There is an assault in this country on the institution of family. And there always has been. There always has been. Shout out to my boy Darius here. What's up, bro? Stopping by, showing love, man. I certainly do appreciate it, Darius, man. You're the greatest. No one can beat you. Still my G. We're going to get together pretty soon, man. Have some of those racy conversations. You see, I'm still at it, man, in a major way. And I know you're the one that's going to tell me, man, your ass is crazy. But it's all good. It makes sense. Go with me here. Let's get back into the information. So it seems like selfishness can be pinpointed in the brain. And not only that, more noteworthy than that, it can be controlled. So if they can use external forces to control the mentality of selfishness, then there are some things that I can do to try to staunch the actions of selfishness. Because if I'm armed with the information, now I'm aware that I have to be on guard against selfishness, because I know that this is something that's in my brain and it can be manipulated by external forces. Now let's look at the psychological needs, the unmet psychological needs. Humanistic psychology highlights that we all have goals and needs. Some people have tools to conquer life's hurdles, while others have to suffer the insecurity of unmet needs. One theory states that selfish individuals hoard their resources to themselves to increase the sense of control. If you've taken a Psychology 101 class in college or any of those pre-courses in high school, then you have heard about Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And it's for those of you who have not, it's the shape of a pyramid. And at each level on the pyramid, there is a need that is labeled. Your social needs, your physical needs as far as food, clothing, and shelter. I think those are referred to as biological needs. Then your need for self-improvement, your need for self-worth. And at the very top of the pyramid is the goal that we're supposed to all be striving to attain, which is self-actualization. Who the F am I? Realizing self-realization and self-actualization are two different things. Self-realization is realizing who I am. Self-actualizing is being who I am. Hey, bro, y'all didn't even need to drop a bomb on that, man. I heard what I said. I know it was fire. I'm kidding. Back to the business. So, for instance, you had a friend called Jack. Jack grew up in an impoverished family along with his 9 siblings. He had constant urge to fight for his possessions. At various points in his life, he felt that everyone was taken away from him. He hit the jackpot at the age of 30. To gain a sense of control, he began to hide his wealth away from his family. Doing so helped him ease his inner conflicts. Now, personally, I don't know that would help me. I don't think that hiding my money and hiding my resources and lording over people and things like that, I just don't see that as a good way to be. But what I've learned and what I've figured out is that there are multiple ways of conducting that behavior because everyone doesn't have money. You know, how many times have we seen in the low income communities, we've seen a guy and a girl get into it and he'll be like, well, I'm going to take the spare tire off your car then. That's my spare tire. You know, I'm leaving. I'm taking the washer and dryer with me. You know, oh, you leaving? If you're leaving, give me that phone back. You know, hey, I need that shirt. I bought you that shirt. You ain't going to be wearing that shirt with no other girl. So we see the need for control and power with selfish people, the inherent need to control the situation, to control people. And it's a very horrible situation to be in. And later on, before we wrap things up, I'm going to give you some information on what to do if you're a selfish person, if you recognize that you possess some of these traits, or if you're dealing with somebody who's an exceptionally selfish person. I know oftentimes women are the first ones to jump on the train when you talk about selfishness, because oftentimes, because of our lack of information and our lack of ability to be in tune with with their emotions and their intellect and the things that make them tick, we appear to be selfish. But I will tell you, as a victim of it myself, in our brain, the way our brain works, there are certain things that we do to where we couldn't possibly be selfish to our minds. But anyways, so the final model to apply to selfishness was societal influence. A recent study used a modified version of the prisoner's dilemma, a test of people's willingness to set aside their personal interests to attain a greater good. After utilizing different strategies, the researchers found that being selfish was more beneficial than cooperating. The benefits may be short-lived, however. So, the prisoner's dilemma, for me, paints a very vivid picture of selfishness gone bad. Now, here's a brief synopsis of the prisoner's dilemma. The prisoner's dilemma is two guys get caught. Guy 1 and guy 2 get caught by the cops after allegedly committing a crime. They got guy 1 in an interrogation room and they have guy 2 in an interrogation room. Now, here's the thing. If neither one, these are the factors that they do not know. If neither one of them says anything, the most they can do is give both of them 1 year in jail. If one or the other of them says it was that guy, he'll get no time and the other guy will get 3 years. So the prisoner's dilemma is, do I keep my mouth shut and hope that he's in the other room keeping his mouth shut as well? See, now I have to bank on how well I know the person that I did this crime with. That's the entire premise of the prisoner's dilemma for me. That's the variable that a lot of people don't factor into the prisoner's dilemma. How well do I know the guy in the other room? There are some friends that I'm going to sit there with my mouth shut because I know 100% beyond the shadow of a doubt he's in there with his mouth shut. And then there are some friends that I have where I have no idea what's going on in that room. There's absolutely no way for me to know what he's over there saying or not saying. And that's the prisoner's dilemma. If we cooperate, if we keep our mouth shut, the worst thing that can happen is a year. But most people typically will cooperate with their friend. Let's cooperate. Let's do this together. Nobody says anything. We get a year in jail. Well, oftentimes, and I think there is a correlation between selfishness and criminality as well. But oftentimes when you're dealing with criminal mentality, real criminals, people, just doing a crime doesn't make you a criminal. The criminal mentality, the criminal psychology is a whole nother block of information. It does not make you a criminal just because you committed a crime. That's just not how it works. But this country has worked very difficult. They have worked very hard to make as many American citizens felons and criminals and ex-cons as they possibly can. So I understand why people would think that, oh, a person who does crime is a criminal. It's not true. Oftentimes, most crimes are one of two things: crimes of necessity or crimes of passion. Oftentimes, rarely, it's rare that you meet a real criminal. I know a real criminal. And from some of the people that I see in the chat, they know this guy too in Fort Smith. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to blow him up, put him on blast. If somebody puts his name in the chat, I'm going to say it. But I know two. I've met two real criminals in my life. Let me tell you something about a real criminal. A real criminal is the definition of selfishness. A real criminal is somebody who exploits anybody and everybody. That means they are going to steal money out of their mom's purse. They're going to take their baby mama's light bill money. They are going to sell back the kids' toys at Christmas. They will rob their friends' kids. They don't give a damn. Real criminals. There's a lot of people in prison who aren't criminals. Let me say that. There's a lot of people in jail who are not criminals. But like I said, this country would like for you to think that way, though. The real criminal is a super selfish person. This is someone who is always going to look out for numero uno no matter what. This is someone who will never work for the greater good of the collective. This is someone who he is constitutionally incapable, biologically, psychologically incapable of doing anything else than being a criminal. If he gets his life together one day, he'll open a church and he will hustle the Lord the same way he hustled the streets. Want to check out my man Steve Holloman in the chat. Shout out, boy. What's going on with you, man? Says, obey the wall of silence. If they had anything on you, trust there wouldn't be a conversation. That's true. Hold on. Let me put the bomb on that. Man, what's going on, man? My bomb is sounding a little weak. Let's see. Let's try that again. That's a little bit better. It was not totally a bomb. It was a grenade, maybe. But yeah, man, I agree with you 100%, man. The wall of silence is, or as the Italians, I think it's the Italians or Sicilians would say, the code of omerta, the code of silence. If you're going to be rolling like that, you need to know it. You need to be aware with it. But like I said, I was going to give you some information on what you're going to do if you're dealing with somebody like that. One of the most important things to do when dealing with a selfish individual is to understand the reason behind his or her actions. Incorporate the biological, psychological, and social factors. Remember that you cannot control the personality of other people in most cases. Unless you're a white dude in a lab coat somewhere. But anyways, using magnetic pulses. I mean, unless you're that, you can't control what people think. What you can control is your reaction towards them. Thus, it is best to accept one's nature. I've heard people say things like, I can't trust so-and-so, but I can trust so-and-so to be so-and-so. I know who you are, and I know how I have to deal with you. So you don't have to write off your selfish friends. You just have to know how to deal with them. You have to recognize who they are. I have a friend of mine, and I remember one day we worked together, and we were having a, what do you call it? Potluck, get together, shindig. And I sat back and I looked and I said, I'm going to call him Bob, because nobody's name is Bob, so nobody will get a hint of who I'm talking about. I said, one thing about Bob? Bob really and truly loves Bob. I have never met a person who loves himself as much as Bob does. Because if it comes down to the last slice of bread, you and Bob, well, Bob and that slice of bread are going to wish you the best. Hope you find your slice, the slice that's for you. The slice that God picked out in the cosmos for you. Because Bob isn't gonna ever put Bob's needs to the side for the next person. I don't think Bob would do this for a kid. What are you talking about in the chat? Not rob the kid. Yeah, there are people out here who rob kids. Steve Holloman says, it's only 2 real criminals in Fort Smith. The rest have dreams of grandeur. Yeah, that's pretty true. That's actually pretty true. And I think I know both of them. Darius Hill says, I know it ain't funny, but the church comment got me. It is what it is. How many of us know guys who used to be, I hate speaking matter of factly, like everybody used to be in the streets and everybody knows scumbags. But I think typically everybody probably knows at least one good scumbag, So how many of us know that guy who's a dirtbag? Lived his life as a dirtbag his whole life, got out of prison, got him a online certificate to be a preacher, and now he has a church. And he's hustling tithes and offering. I know several people that are living their life that way. And I think it's the most horrible thing in the world. I joke about starting a church all the time. My wife once asked me, why don't you? And I told her, I said, because I don't have the heart to lead people astray. It's the same reason why I stopped working with people on fitness. I stopped doing personal training. I stopped working with people that way because oftentimes the fitness industry is a scam. Oh, I did say I was going to come back to corporations and how corporations are psychopaths and how selfish corporations are. There are a few corporations that I have a serious problem with that I think are the most selfish entities on the face of the earth. These institutions are fitness, religion, and rehab. I think I got something on my screen. I'm getting a delayed reaction on my bomb over here. But I have a problem with them because I feel like all of these institutions are liars. There's another good trait for a selfish individual. This dude can't tell the truth. This chick can't tell the truth. If you guys see smoke wisping by, I got some sage over here burning. So trying to keep the studio zen. Try to keep the good energy flowing. But, excuse me, back to my point. If these corporations told the truth, they wouldn't make money. They wouldn't make money. If they told the truth, they wouldn't make money. The last person that I dealt with on fitness, they came to me and they flat out asked me, Arshawn, what can I do to get a six-pack? I turned around and I looked him right in the face and I said, nothing. You'll never have a six-pack. What you need to work on is getting okay with your beer belly. Fall in love with your beer belly, rub your beer belly, love your beer belly, because you will never have a six-pack, sir. It's impossible. You're not going to get it. And, he appropriately told me to go F myself. And my friend girl asked me, wow, that was horrible. Why would you say that? Why would you say that, Arshawn? That was terrible. I said, well, here's the thing. I really believe in this lifestyle. I really believe in what I do. These people don't. Because if they did, they would tell the truth. I said, if I really told him what it took for me to get the six-pack that I have, he would do exactly what I said. And he would be like, look, this dude's crazy. F him. And I'm going to get okay with my beer belly. Because this is what I did. there was a counselor when I was at Job Corps who would allow us to stay up and watch BET Uncut, Big Booty Girl videos. What 18-year-old, 17 or 18, doesn't want to stay up late and watch Big Booty Girl videos? So the deal was, he was like some super athlete back in the day. I'm not going to say his name because he may not be one associated with some of the views and opinions of the Angry Nerd podcast, but he was a great guy, and he was like a superstar athlete from Arkansas back in the day. And the thing was, if you guys can work out with me, you can stay up. And we did 1,000 push-ups and 2,000 sit-ups every night. This was not jail, people. This was Job Corps. I think they were getting us prepared. I think on the cool, they were like, we know where you guys are going. They were getting us prepared. They was like, these boys are going to the forum. So the average person, if you tell them that, they're going to look at you like you are crazy. Wait a minute. 2,000 sit-ups? Not just in one day, in one sitting? Yes, that's what it took. I don't know if that's the only way to get it. I'm just telling you how I got it. I don't believe in hooking myself up to the probes and electrocuting myself and burning fat that way. I just do it the good old-fashioned way, sit-ups and push-ups, and we'll call it a day. But oftentimes when you tell people that, they're going to take their money elsewhere. So the company won't tell them that. They will say, look, if you take this pill, you can look like this dude on the body. Look at Mr. Universe here. This will be you. We're going to turn those rolls into six-packs. We're going to turn that back fat into lats. Oh, boy, we're going to turn those pecs. Oh, man, we're going to turn you into the lean, mean fighting machine that you were meant to be if you take this pill for $400. So, and then you know what happens? Spends $400, gets the pills, gets scammed. And then he says, oh, that workout stuff is bogus. It doesn't work. You never tried it. You were scammed by some supreme scammers. And I feel the same way about religion. Every single religious if you read the tenets of Buddhism, if you read the Bible, if you read the Quran, if you any religious text you can read, you will see where the hero went off and got by himself. Did Jesus not go into the wilderness? Did Shakyamuni not sit under the Chandanda tree? Did Muhammad not take his pilgrimage to Mecca? Did you have to get inside self. That is where God is located. The Bible says that Jesus lives in your heart. Ask him into your heart. That's what the Bible says. So the Bible is hinting at getting inside self. The Buddhists say, dig into the anthill with the sword. Remove all these things. When you get to the dragon, keep the dragon. Throw all the rest of that stuff away. This is worldly puff and smoke. We don't need that. The Christians say, be transformed by a renewing of your mind. Be ye transformed by a renewing of your mind. That's what the Christian faith says. Cicero said, know thyself. All roads lead back to the self. So why do I have to come to church every Sunday? Do you know how many people sit in the pulpit every Sunday and they've never read the Bible for themselves? That's one thing that I do really appreciate about the Muslim faith is that reading is a requirement. Oftentimes, a lot of Muslims the Muslims that I've encountered have a lot of information. But it's still very strange. It's very strange information, some of it. I can't get over the whole Yaqub, the big head dude in the cave that made white people. I really just can't get down with it all the way. So I pretty much just kind of steer clear of that. Buddhism always struck me as something pure, something beautiful, something majestic. Christianity always seemed like a hustle. The whole asking for money all the time. The whole don't question this, don't question that. These are fallacies of control, and these people will not tell you the truth. You want to know why they won't tell you the truth? Because you'll stop coming to the temple. You'll stop coming to the church. You'll stop coming to the mosque, And if you stop coming, you'll stop paying. So they sell hope. Churches, rehab centers, and fitness centers sell hope. I hate Planet Fitness. I want to go on Planet Fitness, and I just want to tell everybody, listen, you're going to be fat next year too. Because this is not challenging yourself. You are not pushing yourself. You're going to be a gelatinous fat mofo next year too. I know they're going to ban me because they asked me to slow down one time on the treadmill. Hey, can you turn this treadmill down? You're running too fast. I wanted to jackmack this lady. But, you know, it is what it is, man. You want to use their facility, you got to follow their rules. But I digress. So that's why I have a problem. All of these are selfish institutions. So when you look at it, selfishness abounds everywhere in this country. Selfishness, as I'll say about racism, is as American as apple pie. We are a selfish people. Other countries, you'll see the whole family eats out of one bowl. We are not eating out of a bowl that our kid stuck his fingers in. We're not rocking like that. So I think societally, we just talked about the biopsychosocial modality that we apply to the institution of when dissecting the institution of selfishness. So societally, I think is our worst factor. Because our society is selfish. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Snapchat, we're on TikTok. It's all about the self. It's all about the ego. And I think it was, I don't remember if it was the comedian Boo Capone or the comedian Earthquake. It was one of the fat guys though. But anyway, he said that ego stands for edging God out. I thought that was great. Because the ego comes into play. The ego is the cause for the demise of many relationships. The ego is the cause for the demise of many business ventures. The ego is the cause for the demise of many friendships. And the ego is the crux of selfishness. Out for self, all about self. There's a certain level of healthy selfishness. Making sure that you eat in the morning. Making sure that you brush your teeth and wash your face, making sure that you pay your bills, making sure that you take care of yourself and keep a good life. That's okay. The problem comes when you're doing harm. That's why religion, fitness, and rehab I have such an issue with, because I believe these people do detrimental psychological harm to our communities. And I pretty much hate them. You talked about religion. You talked about fitness, but you haven't talked about rehabs. You know why I hate rehabs? Although I believe in rehab and I believe in the institution of sobriety, I believe in the 12 steps, I believe in all of that. But one thing that I learned that no rehab tells anybody, and I've been to several, and I have yet to hear one person tell any addict in recovery this: you're going to be fighting this fight for the rest of your life. Well, why in the hell am I going to give you $10,000 a month if I'm going to have to fight for the rest of my life? I'll tell you like this: if you continue to fight, eventually it will be worthwhile. There are benefits and there are rewards on the way for you, addict in recovery who gets your shit together. There are rewards and there are blessings waiting on you. But you are going to have to fight for them every single day of the rest of your life. And the rehab won't tell you that, because you're going to take your $10,000 to Passages Malibu and they're going to cure you of a disease that there's no cure for. Known to modern medicine anyways. We know that we can go through the scratch ass hills of Brazil or Venezuela or something like that, and there's an herb out there that we can take because the Most High God worked it out like that, to where the land is going to take care of us. But somehow or another, we like laboratories a little bit better than we like trees and bushes and shrubs. We like pills and elixirs and vaccines. We like that stuff more than we like herbs and trees and berries and fruits. We like the man-made stuff a little bit better than what God put here. So I hope you guys got something out of this information tonight, man. If you're dealing with a selfish person, hey, man, just remember you can't change that individual, but you can trust that individual to be who they are. If you are a selfish-ass person like myself, then you need to evaluate. I'm going to tell you, as somebody who has recently identified some selfish behavior, I know, like I was telling you ladies earlier, what I meant to say about men was we think differently. We think that we pay bills. We think that we buy clothes for the kids. We buy food for the house. We change the oil in the cars. You know, we don't complain too much when your friends come over. We feel like everything that you need is met. And because most of us are similar to cactus, we don't need a whole bunch. Most of us aren't very complicated and don't need a whole bunch. And we don't understand how complicated women are and what their needs are. We don't understand their psychology. And oftentimes this leads to her feeling that he's selfish and him feeling that she's ungrateful. That's what happens. She says he's selfish. He says she's ungrateful because I take care of everything around here. You do, except for my emotional needs, except for thinking about me. Well, for the most part, we don't really rock like that. We don't really think like that. We don't really emote that way. So we're like, I don't know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? I do unspeakable things with my mouth for you sometime. You know, I pay the bill, get your hair done. But there is still a lot of breakdown in communication, and someone can be labeled as selfish unjustly. So I hope that we've gotten some information put out there about selfishness, and now we have a, what do you call that? Course of action that we can start taking to combat some of these things, because just like we talked about, if it can be controlled by external forces, then that means God gave us the ability to control it internally. Because if something externally can stimulate that muscle and turn it off, I should be able to delve with inside self and turn it back on. So I don't have all the answers. I don't know everything. Not entirely sure if I know anything. And I think they said that makes you a wise man. The wise man knows that he don't know nothing. I don't know nothing. No, I really don't. I hope you guys got something out of this, though. Until next time, my name is Arshawn Wade, a.k.a. The Angry Nerd. Peace.